I've been to a lot of cool sports events. I've gone to the Ashes at the MCG, the Ashes at Lords, Rugby World Cup finals. Lots of places where I've been blown away by infrastructure and chants and moments of being proud to be South African and all of the typical stuff. But I've never felt what I felt on the first box at day one at LIV yesterday. And to see everyone from the States looking around and realizing that what we said in the build-up was true was a really nice thing, because we made a big deal of it. We said we were going to be the biggest. We said we were going to be the loudest. And on 18 yesterday, we broke the ropes to follow Bryson like it was a major Sunday. So, yeah, one of the coolest days of my life.
Because I do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups 4 times a week.
What's a dose? Can you translate for us?
Winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Ernie Els.
Welcome back to the Go Track, the podcast about golf and golf adjacent stuff, mostly from Africa. I am flipping excited because I have all 3 Go Track, all 4 of us here in one of our classic Go Track venues. Guys, honestly don't know when the last time we had all 4 of us together was. Particularly nice to see you, Mr. Hoffman, as well. But yeah, what an event, guys, and what a week we have just had. Firstly, quick, how's it, JDV? Hello.
Hello, boys. Yeah, feeling a bit jaded today. I think every single person I've seen is like,
Why?
Your eyes look so puffy. I was like, well, they are. Yeah, quite a. It felt like matric rave again, or rage, depending on where you come from in South Africa.
Hoff, have to make the red knob, Joe. Nice to see it in your hand again.
Thanks, T-Bag. It's nice to be holding it again. I must say, it's been a while, but good to be
we
back.
haven't used it in your absence.
I'm glad. It's got my name written all over it.
Tucky, how's it, boss?
Hello,
Nice to
guys.
see
Nice to see you guys all in person, in the flesh once again. Obviously, the FOMO levels were fairly high over the weekend.
you. Someone has to cover cricket.
Someone had to do the Sharks game and the Dolphins game on Saturday and Sunday. And for my sins, it was me. But don't worry, I watched it. I watched the ending whilst I was at the Dolphins game. Don't tell them that I was watching golf when I was supposed to be talking about
Were you
cricket.
commentating on the Dolphins game?
No,
or?
I was just doing the announcing, so it was pretty quiet. It was a 50
You're like,
over
oh!
game.
It's like, why is he so excited?
Yeah.
Maybe try and get Tucky involved in the announcing at LIV next year.
I heard
the
some,
American guy.
Yeah, I heard some serious American voices doing the announcing on the first tee
There's
box.
so much announcing spots there. I feel like we could definitely get you in there, bro. There's a lot going on. They got so many stages. You could do some of the crowd hype up stuff. But yeah, I noticed in your one WhatsApp message you were very clear on the fact that you would not be missing next year.
No, I will be
there. There was
we will be
no
there.
doubt about it. So good. I'm glad. Yeah, guys, what a week. I think we spoke when we first started this podcast around, we had a lot of takes on LIV and that. But I think between all of us, we were very clear that if LIV ever came to South Africa, we were going to be there. And I don't know if we expected it to be what it was. I don't know what our expectations were. So maybe I'll jump across to you, Hoff. What were your expectations? What's your one big reaction from being on site?
Oh, number of people. I mean, just the size of the thing. It was huge. It was absolutely huge. I did think
Huge.
I did think because of how big it was in Australia, I thought that the South Africans would see that as a challenge. We don't like getting beaten by the Aussies. And I think we've said that a few times on the pod, actually. So I did think that it would be a success. Did I think it would be that much of a success? I don't think so. I mean, it was massive. It was absolutely... I can't even describe it in words, how many tee-boxes to green along the fairways, and it's just lines of people. It was epic.
Can I ask one thing, just before we get in? There were obviously 100,000 people there. What did it feel like crammed at stages?
Yes, 100%. And I think
at stages is probably the right.
But also because it was because of the shotgun starts, it's not where there's no like trickle in, as the day goes on. It's like everyone's there in line, gates open, and like everyone pumps in there.
Okay, sorry, we had a technical issue there, Oaks.
We're back.
Welcome back. So that is classic Go Track moment. But before we get into the nitty gritty, just Tucky, what was your sort of one big reaction?
Do you know
being remote?
Mine was how much South Africans froth for team sports. Golf, obviously, individual sport, but like the fact that we had South African team in the running. I think that's what got South African people going. Obviously, the competition with Australia is a massive thing. I think that was a big one. But I think the fact that like we had, if we only had 4 individual South Africans in the field and it was an individual golf event, I think it would have been well supported. But the fact that the Southern Guards are our team and everyone sort of rallied behind them, I think that gives us a lot more to support. And I think that people really lent into that idea, and obviously them being in the running before they shut the bed on Sunday was a huge
like the fact,
disappointment.
honestly, the fact that they were even in the running, like with the amount of like hype and pressure and that was coming in, and like every day, to be honest with you, I was like, okay, they had a big first day,
Yes,
but like this is too much for these Oaks, because you can imagine how much attention they've had, like how much responsibilities they've had, like entertaining people. They had their own whole hospitality area that they were going to every day, and like, so literally just the fact that they got that close, I think is like insane. And it was enough, whether they won or not, it actually didn't really matter in the end, because they got so close that it was kind of like what everyone bought into.
Yeah, and I think Charles Schwartzel was just living on Voltaren injections. That
incredible, bro. Like, yeah, I mean, JDV?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway is no surprise that South Africa shows out for these sorts of events when it's it's been so long coming to have an event of this magnitude, a sporting event. The guys, I think it transcended golf in South Africa. I mean, you saw a lot of non-golf people talking about the event, talking about the spectacle of it. There were a lot of non-golfers, I would say, at the event. So I think it was a major sporting event. I mean, I'm not breaking news here, but that for me was very epic to see. And my major takeaway was that there's huge support in South Africa generally for this sort of an event, and particularly in the golfing sense. And I think that's why LIV was so good for South Africa, because it was more than just what the SA Open or Nedbank is and presents. It presents a very different experience, I would say. I was chatting to my dad and Sean and saying, does this mean we now no longer go to the Nedbank and now we go to the LIV event each year? And my dad made a good point. He's like, no, I think Nedbank is a very different experience, and one that it's still worth going to. They're almost not trying to compete and cancel each other out. I think the Nedbank is probably a more intimate golfing experience. There's a lot more public access in terms of hospitality and seating and the rest of it. But LIV is an absolute festival. It was a 4-day festival where the guys were also playing golf at. And that for me was a major takeaway.
Yeah, I think there's a lot about what you said there to unpack. Yes, we're not winning with our tech here. Smart Riverside has just decided to switch off now. I might need to grab your LAN cable or something, JDV. Oaks, yeah, my take is maybe slightly different, and maybe JDV, you might have to play me off here with the Oscars music, like I did to you in your thing. But honestly, my take was just like one of like basically just like being there on Sunday. I was like, flip, I've got a lot of gratitude for being at an event like that, particularly where I was able to get access to and that. I mean, shit, Oaks, when we started the Go Track 3 years ago, essentially just to scratch an itch, and we thought maybe it might provide a platform for the odd new experience. Initially, I think we thought the highlight of that would be the curry gravy tasting Hoff at Princess Grants. I think we thought that'd be a huge perk of starting the Go Track.
Well, we haven't got that yet, by the way.
Yeah, they still haven't lived up to that. So just shout out. But yeah, fast forward 3 years. If you said we would be having a live event in South Africa, first of all, and then that that I would be sitting at the front.
You would be going viral.
We did our first few podcasts on our iPhones, at our houses. If you say I'd be sitting at the front,
the microphone scratching against our jackets without knowing about it.
I did one in the car at Baby City.
So yeah, all that. If you say that, if you told me I'd be sitting in the front, of the interview room asking the best players in the world their architecture takes, I didn't see that, Tucky, in the crystal ball. So just very fun journey. That it's been fun and very fun and interesting people. I think that we've met along the way. So yeah.
If I can say something,
golf is a great game. I just wanted to end off on that.
Yeah. Just
play me off. Play me off now.
No, I want to just break up Terrence's monologue here. Let's aim for a couple live shows at LIV Golf 2027. How's that for a goal?
I'm in.
Yeah, I was funny. I was joking about that with somebody on. They were like, "You're going to do a podcast after every day next year." And I was like trying to work out, because normally the beers float quite quickly at the end of the event. And I was like trying to work out if we'd be able to strategically manage that and manage your beer intake. We did do that at Nedbank. And
I didn't manage to strategically manage
JDV didn't manage his intake very well. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. But yeah, that's a good shout out, Tucky. On sites, like you were talking about the crowds and just what was what sort of impressed you the most, Hoff, being on sites? Obviously you've spoken about how many people and that there were.
I mean it's the grandness of everything. I think everything is just bigger and better. All the boards, how everything was put together. I don't think we need to hate on the Nedbank. I think JDV made a good point that the Nedbank is very different and all of that. I think that they'll struggle because of this event. There's no doubt about that. But if you compare it, you walk around the Nedbank and the stands are all scaffolding and all of that kind of thing. Like LIV is just like everything's glass and grand, and there's massive screens and advertising and speakers all over the place. So I think for me it's it goes back to the same point, number of people, but just the grandness of absolutely everything and how everything flowed. I mean, JDV was talking about the queue and all of that, but once those gates opened, everything flowed nicely. Yes, you felt like a cow, there's no doubt about it, but I mean, you're going to feel like a cow at any kind of festival you go to. Super grand. There were a few things that I'm sure we will get to that I think can be improved on, which is obvious when you have the first event. But it was actually quite overwhelming when you walked in there, because you're like, I've never experienced something like this before. I've been to many Nedbanks, and it's not, the Nedbank is not that.
But it was like a major international rugby event 4 days in a row. That was sort of the only real sporting comparison I think as South Africans that we can equate it to. I mean, I know a lot of people were talking about it having the same sort of crowd vibe as one of the majors, as the Ryder Cup. Bold take, I haven't been to any of the majors or the Ryder Cup, so I'm going on hearsay. But certainly from a sports perspective, it felt like the same vibe going in as
like
you're
a Springbok
going to
test.
Exactly, like a Springbok test.
But with a huge fan village and music stadium next to it, and I mean, I almost don't know if the Springbok test is, it's a comp, but there was just so much more to it as well with all that infrastructure.
But you could see Joburg were super prepared for it. Every street corner within I don't know what radius had cops there, and the park and ride that I took from Monty, it just functioned. There was just bus after bus after bus, and everything was super quick with the tickets on your phone and all of that. So super impressive that for the first event, it can run like it did.
Yeah, I mean, my take on site is just exactly the same. Like, just the scale and efficiency of everything. Like, I was there on Wednesday, and obviously not a lot of people on site on Wednesday, and it gave me the opportunity to like walk around all the infrastructure. So I literally walked through the whole party hall, like, you know, through all the hospitality. I walked down the hall and then up, you know, like through the tunnels and stuff that all the players, and I was just like, this is next level. Like, this is South Africa's never seen something like this. Shout out to whoever got the branding contracts for that LIV, because my goodness, I mean, there were branding started, Tucky, like 3 kilometers from the golf course. Like, you're talking like 100-meter banners, like down walls, and then on site, just the number of hospitalities. And as you say, Hoff, you didn't see a piece of scaffolding out there. It was all covered, and it all just looked like perfect.
But the branding is a good point. So, I mean, you've got branding for a specific event for like 4 or 5 days. I mean, even I mean, I looked at the one thing. So you get your sausage saloon hot dog with your chips, and the paper that's underneath that is branded LIV South Africa.
Yeah.
It was actually nuts, the attention to detail, like the branding side of it.
Really, like in the media center, I mean, just the media center, you would have gone
Looked
wild.
wild, yeah.
I mean, the dining in there was next level, like bar, coffee station, but even to the point where they had like a sandwich station. Every single sandwich had like a LIV Golf like thing with like what was in the sandwich, LIV Golf sticker on. It's
incredible.
It was wild.
Incredible to think like what you can do with an
Budget.
never-ending budget.
Oil money. Yeah. Listen, if every time I fill up my car, if I get that every year, like it softens the blow a little bit. You know?
When it's 9 rand a
The
litre.
Strait of Hormuz can stay shut if we get that kind of stuff.
9 rand a litre increase, so it's fine.
Look, I mean, just on that point, I mean, we didn't get the media stuff. I think, like, from a gripe point of view, that was maybe my only gripe, was just like I think the infrastructure got overwhelmed by the number of people. So, you know, the rules were you could only buy 2 beers at a time, which was pretty ridiculous because you felt like you were constantly looking for someone to buy beer from.
Were there lots of places to buy beers?
So there were guys with backpacks walking around with beers, but like they often had like crowds around them. If you went to a bar, there were lots of bars, but if you went to a bar, you waited. At the beginning of the day, getting food was easy, but afterwards it was impossible.
Tough.
I mean, we tried to get a coffee, we tried to get food, and there were lots of options, but the queues were just like insane, like absolutely, especially on the Saturday night where, you know, the weather came in, the crowd got, I mean, not the crowd, the concert got suspended. We didn't know if it was happening, and everyone got funneled into the fan village, and it was just like, you couldn't find anyone, you couldn't find anywhere to sit or anything. So I'm sure they'll learn from that. I'm hoping that there'll be more tables and maybe from a food perspective, more options or coffee stands and stuff like that, because I think it got overwhelmed. You know, but that's literally the only gripe, which you can imagine any event with 100,000 people at some point is going to get overwhelmed. But it was that Saturday night was pretty intense.
Do you think that they could have more people? Do you think they could go to like 120,000?
Gates and McKenzie does.
He reckons double 500,000.
Well, they need to get more than Adelaide, which is 115,000. So just squeeze a couple 10,000 here and there on each day might work. But I think they will get more people next year, Tucky, simply because of the Thursday and the Friday. I think a lot of people will start targeting those days as much as the Saturday and the Sunday. But I think there will be more people on Thursday and Friday next year than there was this year. Not that there weren't many people. But
I think that was the biggest first day crowd they've had.
It's the biggest first day crowd LIV has had. Yeah. So I think it comes down to just how many total tickets they have available for the event.
But can Stain City sustain 120,000 people?
Yes, I think. But again, remember, everyone funnels into the first, so they go through that village. But it's the nature of you've still got to fit all those people around like 1 or 2 holes at the end, because that's where everyone congregates. So I mean, if you're talking about general access, I mean, you could go to many holes on the other side of the golf course that were pretty easy access.
The
you
other
could get
side
close
of
to
the
the ropes. Yeah, I did the migration twice, and then it was fine. So I mean, the area can hold it, and I mean, as Terrence said, one of the phases that they're using to put all the infrastructure, there's still more space there. I mean, there's like 25 Ks of like mountain bike trails there. And so I think they've got the space to build out further. What I do think they need to do, and I can understand why they wouldn't have done it in the first year, is like a British Open general stands seating down the 18th, maybe a bigger build out for stands on 17, even maybe look at building some stands on 16, just because, as we know, those last three holes when the final groups are coming through, that's where everyone's going to be. No one's watching, song on the 6th hole when everyone's sitting on the 18th. So I hope that they didn't do that because they were worried about the numbers that they were going to get. But now, basically knowing that they're going to get insane numbers, they can put more allocation to the public seating.
And hopefully the other fan villages, like we were chatting about earlier, I hope they get bigger and they stay open for longer. Because that was the problem, is you then go hunting for places to sit or get food or booze, and then they close those, funneling Oaks back into the main village. And maybe they'll extend the size of the main village.
After the round, you say?
After the round, yeah. Because with the concerts, there's obviously not no one, but most people stay.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. But I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think a few extra general access stands would be great.
Yeah. I am just asking firing questions away here. There's a big gap between when the golf finishes and when the concert starts.
So there wasn't actually such a big gap.
Okay.
There was a big gap because of the rain delays
and the unknowns.
Yes. So what was happening, and also because it started earlier. So they're still trying to bring the concerts forward and the rest of it. So I think in the ordinary course there wouldn't have been a big gap. There was meant to be sort of starting acts and then the main act happening. And I think I said to Hoff, when the issue with Saturday is that the concert was like suspended temporarily while everyone was in the fan village without knowing when the concert's going to start, so they couldn't push guys into the concert area. So it was like and it's still, once the concert opened, everyone sort of funneled through into the concert.
It was like a holding pen.
Exactly.
Huge holding cattle. It felt like that. You couldn't find anyone, you couldn't phone anyone because the internet was all down. You couldn't get a coffee, you couldn't get a beer. It was tough. And eventually, like, the guys we were with just bailed. They were like, look, we're starving.
Cut your losses.
You can't stand in a queue for 2 hours to get a slice of pizza. So that was, as I said, the only gripe. But there were factors that led to that.
So was the concert area not open? Yeah, so that, I mean, that's probably something that can look at changing, is so people can filter through there, because there's bars and stuff at the concert area.
But that was the case. It was just because of the lightning and the weather in the area.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure if you look where the entrance to the whole thing was, that whole thing that you went through and got your LIV bangle, I don't know if you probably flew into the media centre.
Yeah, dropped you in.
Basically parked. I basically parked on the first tee.
I think
media parking.
I think they could move that back and extend the size of that fan village pretty easily.
Which is crazy to say, because it was just so big. And like,
a big build-up.
I mean, just something that I want to say, because we did park, and where we drove in was like through the back of house, I would call it, of the event, and it was honestly mind-blowing, Oaks, how much shit was back there. Like, there was just marquee after marquee of like spare parts and spare like food and spare golf carts, and it's just like, you just can't believe the size and the infrastructure that they needed. So like, I mean, this is probably a good way to like move on to the golf course as well, but I think pretty much everyone there, we quickly realized that like there's like maybe like 2 golf courses in the country that can actually host something like that. Like, literally the amount of space that you need next to the golf course is like frightening. If you want to have the concert, the arena and the fan village and all that back, and they've got it all there. And I mean, JDV, like, we're not going to do a stay in city deep dive architecture here, but I mean, it works absolutely fine as like for that event, as like a championship golf event. I don't know, it looked good on TV.
It looked brilliant.
It looks great on TV. I mean, there's some interesting holes there. I mean, there's enough of a challenge. The players all said it was obviously very soft. So with no wind and soft greens, Oaks are going to absolutely
eat it
up. But like, it's absolutely fine. Like, it's perfect. Like, it looks fine.
It was quite cool. The guy that I was walking around with is a Blair Athol member, and they play like quite a bit of league against Steyn City, and it was quite nice walking around with him because he was telling me the normal holes at Steyn City, like this is actually 1 and that's 2, and you know, now it's 7 and now that's 9, and that was quite interesting to see how they'd actually mixed it up quite together, intensely. You know,
it was like seven holes more or less that they shuffled it. Yeah,
I mean, one was I think number 7 normally or something like that. So it was quite a shuffle.
Yeah,
a little bit of a tough walk as a spectator, but I think a few extra stands would solve that. But
6 made a fun finishing hole actually. That par 5 to finish. So the 17 par 3. 18 par 5. I mean, obviously that's not an ordinary routing, but I still thought it was quite an electric finish.
Awesome finish.
Short par 3, reachable par 5 for the big hitters.
The 17th was insane though. I mean, that vibe was absolutely insane.
And then, sorry, not only that, JDV, but having the first hole as a drivable par 4. I mean, that was
pretty sick.
Like, so like guys are literally trying to hit that green. I mean, I think that little start works really well there. The other thing, just on the format that I wanted to say, I think we spoke about this, Tucky, and comparing it to the Nedbank or other golf events. I definitely felt like you get a little bit of sense, things move quickly. The event happens quickly. You know, once it starts, like I was at the first tee every day, and it's quite a chias, and then the first 2 groups go off, and you sort of like, okay, I want to decompress, go get a coffee or whatever. Next thing you know, it's like an hour and a half's gone by, and you haven't actually watched any other golf. And then you start getting FOMO. You're like, shit, I need to get out onto the golf course and try and pick up a group or whatever. So the pacing is different. I must say, I think it makes it, I think that's what makes the crowd intensity quite special.
Well, yeah, I think it makes sense, given that it's like, what, 4.5 hours.
Yeah, but on the same front, I also, to your point, to me, it's complementary to events like the Nedbank and that, where I quite like the pacing of a long day at the Nedbank where, you know, you maybe go to the first tee, then you go grab a coffee and a breakfast. Maybe you pick up a group for 4 holes, then you go get a beer and lunch, and then you can settle into the stands. It's a test match versus a T20. That's and so from a pacing perspective, that's what it is. And then obviously, you know, like at the Nedbank, if you set up at 18, you're going to watch 10 groups finishing their rounds. Where the shotgun starts, it's oaks are all over the place.
Yeah, I find like it must be quite difficult to work out like
it's impossible.
Who's
there's a ton of
doing what, and
there's a ton of guys you just don't see.
You just never see,
because you're like, okay, they were there. Now, by the time you get there, they're there.
And then,
you know, we sort of picked up the same guys over and over, and thank goodness they were sort of the guys at the top of the leaderboard. But you know, to your point, you also like turn around. You're like, cheapers, this is.
It says like
done,
4 holes left.
This is
and then you're like, flip, I got to get to the 18th.
I accidentally watched a lot more Graham McDowell than I thought I was going to watch.
So I reckon, I mean, I was there for pretty much all 4 days. I reckon there's at least 15 oaks that I didn't even lay eyes on.
100%.
Like, I don't think I saw McDowell. Didn't see Mickelson.
That's probably not a bad thing.
I didn't see McDowell. I didn't see Mickelson.
No, because
I didn't see Hatton.
There were some oaks I saw who I'd never heard of in my life.
But we ended up like sitting at a hole, and then the main groups would come through, and then we'd sit there for a couple more shots before we sort of let everyone move off and then move on. So that's why, you know, McDowell and AK and Full were actually often the groups right behind the leaders. So you could watch the leaders come through, and then like all the crowds would go, and you'd be like a couple of people around the green, and you could get like really up close, and the guys are all pretty engaging.
I saw way too much Adrian Moronk and Caleb Surat. Way too much.
You're like, damn it.
You crowd across the course, and then next thing you're like, okay, so who we got coming here? And you're like,
it's Moronk.
You know?
But then you must just do a 180 and start walking backwards.
But like I didn't, even on TV, like I didn't feel like I saw a lot of like Cam Smith or any of like the Aussie guys. Or
he was cool. I saw quite a bit.
He was like, I actually saw a lot of. Yeah.
But because as Terrence says, it's moving so quickly, I don't think you're able to on the broadcast. Because as soon as you start like doing what the DP or PGA do, and like let's see a couple of the other shots around the golf course, it's like, oh shit, okay, now we've lost 2 holes of the leaders. So they basically, like, I think because of the format, can only really follow like 8 players.
So I've got to say, like, I still I'm 50-50 with the shotgun start thing, particularly when watching it on TV. Yes, things move quickly at the end there, and it's very hard to keep track of what's going on. I think from an individual perspective, it's fine because they have the last 3 groups basically go off the first hole. So you're pretty much going to get the winner out of those 9 oaks, probably. And that's kind of what happened. It turned out to be an incredible individual finish. But from a team perspective, especially when it was tight, like on Sunday, some of the most important stuff happened out on like the 4th and 5th holes with Anabar and Lahiri, and then Louis and Charles basically shitting the bed on that par 5. And there's no one there, bro. Like, there was a small contingent of oaks following Louis and Charles, but when they cut to that on the broadcast, and you're like, oh, where are we now? And you're like, oh, well, he's finishing on the 5th hole, and then you got to try to remember, oh, it's a par 5. Whereas you just don't have that context of like they're coming down the 18th. You know what I mean? And like, so
from the team perspective.
From the team perspective.
To push back slightly on that, I thought that their leaderboards in that were very like team centered.
They were.
You almost like, what hole are they actually on? Because you're trying to figure out, okay, this oak's hitting, but they're showing the team thing. And so I thought that was quite good. But yeah, to your point, in terms of like jeopardy of the team event, it maybe missed the boat a little bit, and I think it's difficult to try and get
you can't have one, you can't have both.
Very difficult. And the other thing I thought is that, in some ways, if you think about the Ryder Cup, when the Ryder Cup gets really exciting, it is when things are happening like this, and so I mean, you can't have all the oaks playing like a 12 ball on the 18th, which would be pretty sick. But I
mean, the fact that it came down to the two biggest stars in the last 2-3 balls, then going to a playoff together. I mean, would have loved Southern Guards to have won, or South Africa.
But the team event was also in the balance. I mean, Brandon Grace, if he'd birdied, so it was almost like Grace versus Bryson. So they couldn't have had a better ending.
No, they couldn't have scripted it any better than that.
Guys, I wanted to move on to JDV. I know this is your favorite category. Sights and sounds out on the golf course.
Piped in birds?
We heard some we heard some great sounds out there. And I want you to run me through kind of some of the best things you heard.
Well, I want to start with the opening, like one of the opening tee shots with John Rahm hitting. And they've got their walk-up songs, and he picks that song, Need Money, Money, Money is What I Need. And I was just like, oh, God, this is like a meta
Such a flex, bro. Such a flex. Everyone I was with picked up on that. They were like, yes, this is Rahm just flexing.
So that was very...
do they actually choose their songs?
Yes,
they do,
they do.
And on the 17th as well, or was that just random?
No, 17th as well. They pick it.
And sometimes they change them during the tournament. So like Rahm had a different song on Sunday. He had some weird other songs.
I was on the 16th green, which is right behind the Lions Den, so you can hear everything. And I can't remember who it was, but they had like Girls Just Want to Have Fun and some random...
I think that was Caleb Surratt had Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Your boy.
So then the other
Chucky
thing...
Three Sticks had like a proper country song on Sunday off the first tee. So it's very interesting hearing that.
The Americans all had like quite heavy hip hop songs playing, whereas like...
But that works in the Lions Den, to be honest. It 100% works.
Someone did have Infinity, Guru Josh Project, so I was like, there we go.
No Enya. I didn't hear any Enya.
No, I was
disappointed.
disappointed.
Probably Adrian Morong.
That was really interesting if you'd heard a bit of Enya.
I just quickly wanted to take you to some of the sights and sounds on 18 when things got a bit manic, both on Saturday and Sunday. So, firstly, watching the volunteers like try and keep the crowds back, and then just the fear in their eyes when they realized they'd lost control and Oaks were like rushing to the green. So the first thing was Matt Stradham told me that on the 18th the one Oak slipped and broke his ankle. So like they all ran in there, the Oak slipped, broke his ankle, and then he was like, then it got awkward because then they're trying to bring the medical things on, which are like skidding down the fairway trying to get to the Oak. He said that was almost delayed the playoff a bit because the guys going back to the tee to do the playoff had to like drive around this Oak lying on the fairway trying to get his ankle fixed.
Wow.
But then also to say that, so I was standing on the side of the ropes, and there was this lady and her husband, like probably early 40s, late 30s, and she says to her husband, he's like, no, we must go. And she's like, no, but they're going to open up here, so let's walk down there. And the lady says, babe, just use your pace. So I looked at him and I was like, dude, when was the last time you used your pace? Like, is this like, were you quite pacey in high school? Because I feel like you're going to pull a hammy here. So yeah, the 18th was absolute scenes. I mean, you could see when they were hitting into the, like Bryson was hitting there. I mean, STV was there, like standing.
I was going to say,
proudly.
STV is one of the guys you're talking about. Is trying to hobble along, having had like a knee reconstruction, trying to get into the middle of the fairway.
So now when they've now got the ropes up and everyone's standing there, and then there was a chant that started. We call on the volunteers to please sit down. Please sit down. And then all the volunteers like started crouching, and the one volunteer's like, if we sit, you behave. We're like, okay, that's fine. And then just some of the other comments that, I mean, like the people watching at LIV was absolutely incredible. And the thing is, you can pick up snippets of conversations, and some of the snippets that I picked up were unbelievable. So there was one snippet, and I mean, out of context, like it wasn't even a funny story the guy was telling. It was like a genuine story. He's like, yeah, you know, he puts a ball of socks in his pants, so it looks like he's got a big dick. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? The one other guy said, I just overheard him saying to his mate, he's like, you know, I went to bed last night at about 2 a.m. I had a whiskey and water. Woke up at 5 this morning. I had a whiskey and milk. There were these two latis walking with their beers, and they were walking between, like, you some of the pars people created, so it wasn't like Oaks were sticking to the pars. Guys were just creating
homeowners. HOA is probably going to block those off next year.
We're walking, and these two latis are carrying, and obviously they passed a teacher from their school, because I just heard this Oak, like, on older being like, hang on, boys, what's going on here? What's going on here?
I was with you then, yeah.
and the kid's like, sir, he's double parked, sir. And he's like, hang on, Oaks, I need to take a photo of this.
This Lati was trying to get away, and the teacher was like, whoa, come here. Here we go. Hold the beers up. Took a photo. It was classic. His mate was just throwing him under the bus.
There was a lady on the first, when we were walking down on the last day, there was a lady on her first, probably.
Sure, he was over 18. That kid.
No, yeah, I'm sure. So the Lati Tucky is probably like 4 or 5, and the little daughter, and she's saying, no, we're not here to play golf. No, we're not playing. No, you're not gonna hit any shots. We're here to watch men who do this for a living.
So on that subject, my father actually asked me last week. He's like, "This LIV thing, are you going to? Are you going to watch or are you going to play?" I was like,
"That's great.
Come on."
And then Hoff, I don't know if you guys.
Sorry, just on that though, like talking about the experience. I had a mate who went on Friday or Saturday with his 2 little kids, like 2 kids under 4. I mean, pretty brave stuff.
That is hell of a brave.
And bro, he said those kids had the best day, bro. Like they had so much cool stuff there for kids.
My nephew's 9. He was there. He had the time of his life. He spent his whole day trying to get as many signatures as possible, and so he got from absolutely everyone. His eyes, he was in his element.
Yeah. So I mean, the players did a lot for signing signatures and that, but then just in general, like, stuff for kids to do. It was crazy, bro. There was so much stuff. They had a special stand on the first tee. You had to be under 120 centimeters to go stand up on that stand, and it was prime. It was like right above the first tee.
That's so clever.
Like,
I didn't see that.
You could go. One parent could go up there with the kids, but otherwise it was just full of like little kids. I mean, that's like
very, very clever.
So like. Yeah, you got to give them a shout out for stuff like that. Like 100%. It was really, really cool. The kids stuff. Like I'm almost definitely going to try and take at least one of my kids.
Maybe no more than one.
So the other thing was, obviously you had some epic performances. You had Black Coffee, which I'm sure you'll get to the choir behind Black Coffee, and the one particular couple.
I don't know if we have time.
Then you had Calvin Harris on the Saturday and Goldfish on Sunday, but I think the performance of the weekend for me was one Oak. He looked like he was in about his 60s in the line while we were waiting to go in on Sunday morning, and the Oak just moves off and just starts blowing chunks, like right there in front of everyone in the line, and like the Oak could have gone into the bush or gone behind somewhere. It was honestly like a piece of performative art, where like the whole crowd every time he got sick was like, "Whoa!"
Jeepers.
Yes, as he looked rough. But I mean,
talking of rough, we can probably tie that into. I mean, it's pretty obvious that a lot of the stuff that is circling on social media was some of the butt fights. I mean, yeah, guys, we were very close to 4-ways. There were quite a few butts there, and there were some scuffles. Yeah,
but it was inevitable.
It was inevitable. Yeah. I'm sure they'll learn
Lots
from
of
that.
sleeve tattoos, lots of racing stripes.
Lots of oaks drinking, day drinking, and then all walking out
Morning
at the
drinking.
same, all walking out at the same time.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Can we also, like any golf tournament though, one of the classic people watching things is the oaks dressed to sub in.
100%.
Absolutely.
I've got that.
love
I've
it.
got a note for that exactly.
Yeah, I looked around.
Lots of
every
ready
time
to play golfers.
Ready to play. Golf shoes, everything.
Guys, why?
I love
Please,
it.
why?
I absolutely love it. I'm
Why
like,
do people think that they have to dress up
As
like they
golfers.
are playing? I know we discussed this ad nauseum, but I really want to get to the bottom of it. Can we get someone on who does it and ask why?
So, Tucky, when we did the SA Open review or post-mortem, I was telling Ben and Jacques that I was quite impressed at Stellenbosch. The Oaks were not dressed there to play. There was the odd guy, but there was a lot of felt like good fashion. Very different in Joburg. Very, very much Oaks ready to play. A lot of so bad they were good shirts, custom apparel.
Wow, there were some interesting shirts from
Swing
the
Daddy.
TV.
Swing Daddy. I mean, Bra's son was the classic one. I don't know if you saw that.
The guys in the Rhino. Did you see the guys in the Rhino suits
Full
on
Rhino
TV?
suits.
Saw them, yeah.
They were pretty funny.
So, I mean,
look, dressing up's great, but dressing to sub in.
there were a whole
I'm
lot of
with you,
guys from
Tucky, I just don't know.
whole lot of guys from Durban who were dressed as post boxes, actual post boxes, which is interesting. But I think, I mean, I love the fancy dress vibe. I think they could
me
maybe lean into it for one of the days.
One of the days.
Especially if it's guys sitting in a general stand, you almost get that sevens kind of rugby vibe.
That's quite
you
lekker,
know.
yeah.
Well, even the Lions Den, I felt like most of the vibe on the Saturday came more from the Oaks standing against the rope on the hole rather than the guys on the stands.
100%, yeah. Or the
Like
guys
those Oaks
standing
that
on the
bought those-
standing on the manhole in the middle of the water. Shout out to those Oaks. by the
The
way.
Oaks that bought tickets for the Lions Den, they need to
Up their
increase
game
the
a
vibe
bit.
next year a little bit. I mean, it was a great hole, but all the vibe came from those Oaks
I
standing.
think
next to
some general stands there would be yeah.
I think if you get dressed up in your golf gear next year, you should get into the party stand.
Shouldn't be
That should
allowed.
that should be the dress up.
Yeah, you got to
should
dress
get-
up.
you dress up as
you
a
got to
golf-
have a glove in your back pocket as well, one of those big scorecards.
You got to have a
Also,
picture
a few guys with rangefinders on them. Actual rangefinders.
on their person.
On their person. Couple of rangefinders I saw there.
Yes,
and then I also saw the guys with their own Garmin watches taking yardages, whispering to each other, he's got 211 here.
There is no way.
My dad had a set of Barnocks, and I remember looking at him because honestly the one golf was from me to Tucky away, which is 10 meters, and I look across at my dad. He's got his Barnocks out. So I'm
On the oak.
are you trying to look at what brand ball this guy is playing? What do you need your Barnocks for there?
I kind of like the Barnocks because it's kind of a throwback. It's kind of like seeing the Oaks at Test cricket with their
No, I
Barnocks.
could do the binoculars. It's the
Um,
rangefinder that's a bit much. And the
JD, we
Garmin.
just wanted to throw 3 chips, and obviously there was a lot of Oaks would putt, and then it would stop a foot from the hole, and then Oaks would shout, give.
A lot of gives.
And then everyone laugh around them. You're just oh my God. And then I did laugh on 18 on Sunday. There was a couple of proper American fans there, and they were doing the USA chant for Bryson, and then I heard this on TV actually, and then I heard these USA, and then they stop, and then you heard this the wimpiest Afrikaans voice in the background going, RSA. It was too good. And then the best chirp I heard on the first tee was after David Puig, the Spanish oak, tees off, someone shouting, "Yo massa Puig," which was a good.
That's classic.
Have you got any more chips to get out the way, or can we?
No,
can we
that's me that I can remember or that I wrote down. Probably got some more that I didn't write down.
just players and teams. From my perspective, just seeing the amount that went into it, Bryson, he's literally pretty much carrying that tour.
Yeah.
I mean, Ram is obviously is a very popular player in that. But my goodness, the effort, off the course stuff that I saw from Bryson was just next level. And I think we got very lucky that he was the leader every day. So he came into the press conferences, but just seeing him after every press conference, signing kids' autographs for an hour after every conference. Then he's no, I'm going back to the range. Obviously, there was a lot of interesting shit that happened in the press conferences with drinking chocolate milk and giving interesting answers. I think he's got a lot of time for people. But he's if Bryson leaves, the Livers, like, it's a massive X next to them if he goes. It's a huge void. I mean, Adrian Moronk and Caleb Surat are not carrying that. And I mean, even when the Crushers did their interview at the end as a team, it's like
Charles Hull the third.
Almost awkward. Like the media oaks.
Chucky 3 sticks.
Eventually, one of the media oaks is like, shit, okay, someone ask one of the other oaks a question, you know.
Yeah, but what are you going to get out of those guys?
We were talking about it around the grounds as well, and we were like, look, what they need to do, and they can do it, is just put an open check in front of him and be like, look, you tell us your number. I think because he's the most important thing.
Is almost what they are doing. And then just the teams like flipping the South African Oaks, like
look, Burmy, I mean, cheapers, like
he was a showman this week.
He played into it. Yeah,
Burmy was a massive MVP. He performs it the way he performed, like, because you could easily do that stuff and then play like shit and look a bit stupid. And like, that Oaks got a lot of heart. I must say, I've got a lot of respect for Burmy. He again also very thoughtful in the press conferences. All of them, Brandon Grace. I mean, how well did Brandon Grace play? The Oaks like 50, 60 yards behind Bryson for like the last 2 rounds, and he's competing, you know. I don't know. There was Cam Smith is a bit of a cult legend. South Africans were loving Cam Smith. I don't know if you Oaks picked up on that, but a lot of Aussies out there. He's super popular. I mean, he's probably in their top 5 like stars. I mean, which obviously goes without saying, but like just in terms of his like
aura.
It's a good word.
He had a great aura. Yeah. I saw him come through the Lions Den, and he was he was great.
Yeah.
He's also like super chilled.
Yeah, he's a likable guy.
Yeah,
I think. But like, going back to Bryson, I think that just thinking about what that tour would be without him, it's like you can't even imagine. Because I think John Rahm is in a position where he can sort of just ride on the coattails of Bryson and let Bryson be like the figurehead of it, and John Rahm can just play golf.
He's a different character, John Rahm. You know, he's very focused during the round. I mean, he walked right past me on the 18th on the Saturday when he hooked his. I didn't know if it was his first or his second shot, to be honest, but he walked straight past me, and you could see he was in the zone, whereas Bryson's more sort of seemingly aware of what's going on around him, like very different characters. I mean, I really enjoyed, from a pure like golfing perspective, really enjoyed watching John Rahm tick his way along.
100%.
Whereas Bryson is more like the showman and interacting with the crowds a little bit more. But I mean, like you say, Burmy, we watched him for the first couple of holes. He was brilliant.
Electric.
Absolutely brilliant. All the South Africans were. I think like Grace played well. I think he looks like he struggles with like the crowd hype because it's not really his character.
Yeah, he actually said it in the press conference, like on the Saturday night. Someone asked him like, would he put on his Bafana shirt or whatever? He said, "Listen, Oaks, you've got to know, like, that's not me. Like, I'm like a honey badger, and I'm gonna grind it out, and I'm gonna do whatever I can. But like, Burmy's the guy,
and I think
Burmy's the hyper.
But
I'm chilling.
I reckon
I'm gonna try and lock in and see if I can win it.
I think Dean Burmester just took that on threefold. He took it on for everyone else. Like
Louis not bad at it. He's a little bit cringe, but he's not bad. Whereas like you can see Grace is like quite a sort of character. Like you say, goes about his business, and Charles kind of the same. You know, he'll do the clapping and all of that. But he's not going to run around like Burmy did.
No. Dancing on the tee box doing Galagata.
Every tee box, Burmy just was like awesome. Raising the crowd. He was really incredible. So
MVP Burmy.
Got to be honest. Like, I think I sent you a message. I don't know if I think it was to you guys, so it might have been to the other golf group. But Louis BMT again, like another concerning lost ball off basically his last hole, which was a par 5, which was playing under par the whole week. There's a bit of a legacy of Louis in playoffs, and Augusta obviously always hurts. But
it's a true South
I hate-
African story if they're taking from like the Proteas and
I hate
look, be the
choke
favourite.
I hate
factor.
to be bringing it up again, and it probably wasn't really a big story because he wasn't in the spotlight, but it did end up.
Well, I was actually quite shocked.
It did end
'cause
up
we were
kinda
like
costing
6
us.
or 7 shots ahead.
9 shots at one stage.
Cruising, yeah.
And then I got home and I was like, the Crushers one. I was like, how did that happen? And it was only like the last 2 holes or 3 holes where it turned.
Lahiri also played probably the round of his life on that Sunday. I mean, that oak. I think he was one of the low scores of the day.
He was the low score of the day, shot 63. And it's funny, someone eventually, when one of the other journalists asked one of them a question in the thing, he was like, yeah, I think I kind of boomeraged you Oaks today, which was,
Did he say that?
Yeah, because obviously he's a big cricket fan.
Yeah.
That's classic.
And he was, which was quite a sick statement actually. All the
Everyone
press
must
Oaks
have
are
been-
like, you bastard, you know. It's too soon, bro. Which I thought was a great comment from him.
Still struggling with the name though, like the Southern Gods. I'm still.
No, it's tough.
I'm still
Oaks. It's tough.
struggling with that. The amount of times I heard Oaks talking about the Southern Car Guards was a lot.
There was a whole group there called
saw
the Southern
that.
Car Guards,
I saw
sponsored
that.
by We Buy Cars or whatever, that was pretty funny. But okay, well, I want to wrap up by just talking about going into next year. But also just to say, guys, there's a couple of little short like interview clips that I've recorded, which I'm gonna plug into this podcast at the end. So just a few reactions from a few people on site. I think JDV, you might be one of them. I can't remember.
Voxies.
It was
I
at
don't
the,
think I
it
can
was at
remember
the party
either.
hall. It was at Black Coffee. It's no, but yeah, and then a couple, maybe 1 or 2 clips from some of the interviews. But okay, going into, obviously they had a press conference on Sunday morning, and where they announced the 2027. Obviously, ticket sales have gone crazy. Apparently, Saturday sold out. Kind of funny comment from that press conference was Gayton McKenzie saying he wanted 200,000 people here, and then the Oak from Steyn City, the like rep, was like, "Hang on, Mr. Minister, I don't want to. I just want to check. We might need a few more bridges." And so that was good value. But just something kind of interesting, which I saw an article in the Daily Maverick yesterday. But what was very clear is that there's some tension between LIV and the Sunshine Tour. So Gayton McKenzie actually had a go at the Sunshine Tour on the stage. He didn't call our Oaks out individually, but one of the journalists asked a question about cooperating with the Sunshine Tour, and then Scott O'Neill, the LIV CEO, gave like a very diplomatic answer. He's like, "We're here to complete, not to compete." We've reached out, we want to work with them. This is what we do with the tours around the world, whatever. And then Gayton McKenzie says, okay, now he's finished with his answer. Let me give you the South African answer. And basically insinuated that the Sunshine Tour had almost tried to stop the LIV event. They had said to Gayton McKenzie that this is, we operate golf. I don't know exactly what had been said, but there was some tension there. Which is interesting. And I saw yesterday Thomas about had a comment in the Daily Maverick basically saying that they have obviously tight strategic alliance with the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, and so therefore they weren't able to cooperate with LIV. That was the words he used. So tough spot for the Sunshine Tour, I think, to be put in. When you're trying to just provide playing opportunities for local professional golfers, and you've got an event like that comes and they can't really do much. They're kind of hamstrung. It does sound like the LIV Oaks do want to work with them, but tough spot for them to be put in.
Yeah, it's interesting because I chatted to Thomas at the Sunshine Tour Commissioner last year about LIV and if South Africa was going to get an event, etc., what would happen. And he was of the opinion back then that it wasn't going to be a problem because of the DP World Tour and the Sunshine Tour didn't actually have a firm stance on LIV and what players could do, etc., etc. So I think it's interesting that they've had to now almost completely alienate themselves from LIV Golf ultimately. I think that you would have thought that there might have been some sort of not package or something that might have been given to them as like a compensation, maybe.
Well, so Liv, I mean, I can tag in that interview at the end of the podcast, but you can hear what the oak from Liv said. I mean, it sounds like they really genuinely want to like inject funds and support into the local tours that the countries that they go to. But I guess for the Sunshine Tour, it's like, well, we're a little bit hamstrung here because we've got these playing pathways through to DP World Tour and to PGA. So it's like, like part of me is like, JDV, we said this after the SA Open where we were like, I think we thought LIV would be a net benefit for something like the SA Open because it's bringing people to a golf event that have never been there.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying a Sunshine Tour event is going to be able to pull off anything remotely close to that. But suddenly now people are like, okay, like maybe your golf events are actually pretty cool.
Yeah, going to watch golf is cool.
And we can do that on a slightly smaller scale, you know. And so on that side, I think it's probably a net benefit for.
But there's a difference between
Sunshine.
The playing members, like the pathways, as you say, on the tours, and you know the Sunshine Tour looking out for the golfers, versus the event aspect of it. I don't think anyone would argue that it's a sort of rising tide lifts all boats situation with, you know, the LIV event here will certainly, I think, enhance the other South African golf events. But I think from a playing opportunity, I think that's where it gets a bit tricky. Them trying to support it while also still trying to have their own players' interests and playing opportunities and strategic alliances. On that really fun note.
Yeah, like, cool works. And honestly, we wading into shit that we never really talk about. Like true. Tours and federations and that. So like, it was just something that like was interesting because there was a lot of like positivity that was generally in those press conferences. The other little tidbit was Dean Burmester wasn't happy with the comments that Rory had made about Rahm like not feeling. Or Rahm, I think McIlroy insinuated that like Rahm wouldn't be that stoked to like go to South Africa. Yeah, basically.
That is what he insinuated.
He brought it up and he was like, well, like, don't talk to us about Rory, basically. So like, I don't think Rory's like in there.
Although Rory has come to South Africa on a number of occasions.
No, sure. Like, I think that comment just rubbed those guys up.
It was a pretty stupid comment, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, come on, what do you, Rory? Chill, bro. Although, can I say something? Can I say something? I was not a LIV detractor, but I was never really convinced. I'm more convinced now than I ever was. But my problem is that yes, for 2 tournaments a year, they have incredible crowds and an unbelievable vibe, and then the poor guys have to go and play in Saudi Arabia in front of 7 people in a camel.
The model still isn't sustainable.
I agree.
And the problem is like, are we going to have 2 events? Like, are we going to have next year? And everyone's going to be like, this is amazing. We're going to have this forever. And then are they, something going to happen? Are they going to fold or?
Well, I mean, the first question is, Bryson's deal ends this year.
Exactly.
Isn't it? So, is Bryson going to be back in South Africa to defend his title next year? That's the first big one. Look, all the tickets are sold anyway, so
people are going to be there.
Hopefully it's
for Black Coffee and Calvin Harris.
Epic an event. But I'm with you, Tucky. I was also I was more purely in support of LIV because it was an alternative to the PGA Tour, and I hate the PGA Tour. That was more of it rather than liking LIV itself. And I still think from a TV product perspective, it's a tough watch. I think with the vibe that we had in South Africa and the amount of people that were there, it makes it easier to watch, and the same with Adelaide. But I still think with the music sort of booming in the background and that, it's a tough TV product. But I mean, there's no doubt from like an attendance perspective, that's where they're gripping oaks. But I still think that they've got a number of events where they just meh.
Can I quickly comment on that number of events being meh? Because I agree, and you mentioned it, T, I think in the last one, where you've almost got to have tiered LIV events now, and it's almost like a major series. Like the prize money shouldn't be the same in Singapore as it is in South Africa and Adelaide. Like, I think there should be a clear distinction between like, no, in Adelaide and in South Africa, the team's going to get more points for your team standings, the individuals are going to get more points for your individual standings, and the actual prize money is different because the interest and the infrastructure generates that. It shouldn't be the same level as some of the smaller ones.
I think they should be aiming for like 4 or 5 events a year like this one. And in that respect, this was a huge win this week for LIV to like basically be able to say, okay, we found another market besides Australia.
Yeah.
Because like I think it was the Shotgun Stardox was saying like you can't just like have golf in Australia and South Africa for LIV. That obviously is not like feasible. Like,
well, I mean, the best thing would be if they partnered with the DP World Tour and supported it and increased their purses so that we got better players back on the DP World Tour, and LIV was just a series of these events, maybe 6, 7, 8, 10 max during the year, where this is the sort of team element of it, if you will. And the DP World Tour was the tour that could compete with the PGA Tour. For me, that would be absolute gold.
That sounds like the right way that they should be looking at going.
Keith Pelly sunk everything into his partnership with the PGA Tour and making it into a feeder tour. So that sort of ship has sailed. But that would be ideal, because then you've still got the big events on the DP World Tour, like the BMW and
the classics.
The classics, and then you've got these to sort of hype around them. But it would be nice if they could find like 3 or 4, maybe an event in South America. I know they're doing Mexico next, but I don't know. I don't know if there's any will for it in like Argentina or something like that. It still feels like
even in Europe they don't have.
It feels like there's too many in America still.
For sure. I mean, like I was thinking the other day, like
do they have one in Canada? I don't know.
No, they don't. But like a place like Germany, like you put on this kind of show there, like. The Germans probably get 1 golf tournament a year, like, I mean, that's just an example, but I know like the Spanish event is pretty well attended.
They've got
the UK
JCB
event is pretty well attended.
Golf, it's surprising the Spanish one's not more popular.
Golf fans will pitch up, like, but yeah, too many in the States. But look, Oaks, if this was the event and we got Bryson and Rahm in a playoff as a winner, we fucking rocked them, Oaks. We were there. We did it.
Quite literally the best possible finish.
Yeah.
The Southern Guards should have won the team event, but besides for that,
still a good finish. I mean, not the result we wanted.
Yeah, but they were right
like
in it.
The dream finish is like them being in contention, coming down the stretch. Brandon Grace being in contention, coming down the stretch, and John Rahm and Bryson having a playoff. I mean, what do you want?
The 2 best players on LIV Golf playoff in South Africa in front of us.
Insane weeks. Oaks, my notebook's totally empty. Just so lucky to yuck it up with you guys again. I'm out. I'm done. Anyone else?
RSA.
Shot Oaks. That was lekker. Stay tuned for a couple of clips from interviews from on-site, from some people on-site. Lekker. All right, standing here with OG Molefe. OG, obviously, you're a big golf fan at heart, but you've also been kind of involved, I guess, behind the scenes in like bringing this event to the country and seeing kind of the mechanics of how that works. Just talk about like thinking back on the week and how it's been. Just give me your thoughts standing here on Sunday after these incredible first 3 days we've had.
Man, Trev, I must tell you, this whole week I've been thinking about the first ever meeting we had with Scott from LIV and also with Ross from LIV. And at the time, I mean, we were really trying to get the event here, and there were so many like hoops to jump over. But the fact that it actually happened is emotional. I think sitting on that first tee on Thursday, a bunch of us that were there in that first meeting really felt almost the pride of what it means to actually have brought this tournament here. And I don't think any of us who were in that room, even though we were confident it would be a good event, could have even imagined what it's turned out to be. It's been the most spectacular week of golf I know in this country that I've ever witnessed, and pretty much rivals a lot of events I've been to overseas as well. And I'm talking majors and big events. So this for me is right up there and will probably become my favorite golf week of all time.
And OG, obviously there's a lot of other SA sportsmen who've attended over the week, and that's just talk about from a sports fan perspective what it's like kind of being here, seeing those guys having such a great time and just seeing that sort of build into the gears of South African sports in general.
I must tell you, so I'm going to tell you my favorite 3 sportsmen ever is Diego Maradona, it is Tiger Woods,
and Dr. Khumalo. I was so shocked to see Dr. Khumalo at a LIV event and him sitting at Club 54 on the first day. For me, it's like a childhood dream. Like I'm seeing my hero coming to watch a sport that I love, coming to watch an event that, I've been involved in from the start. So seeing those guys, seeing all the rugby players, the former and current Springboks that came through. I chilled with Temba Bavuma and Kagiso Rabada as well, to see them. And I play golf a lot with Temba, KG as well. He's getting into his golf as well. So to see those guys coming to support, it was so cool. Stanton Fredericks as well was here chilling out and watching the golf. So it's been superb, man, to see those guys come out and embrace the sport as well.
Yeah, really nice to be here, Terrence. And again, thank you for your hospitality and the whole country's hospitality. It's just amazing to be here. You've smelt it, felt it, touched it, experienced it already on day two. It's just incredible. Firstly, it is just a thrill to be here. The energy behind me just makes everything we do worthwhile. My role is to drive impact and sustainability into LIV Golf, into the communities, into our partners, into our supply chain, into our events. So the couple of things we do in each market is to ensure our events are as sustainable as possible and to ensure that we put real good roots into that community that's nearby. So here in South Africa, in and around Stain City, we've got firstly the community program. So we've got 100 volunteers coming in from Deep Sloop where we're giving them some training around maintenance firstly, so they've got some skills to take back into their community. We've got the Southern Guard Academy where they're taking 40 young kids from the Deep Sloop Primary and a 12-month weekly program where they're going to go build a golf development education program where every week they're going to come here and learn how to play golf. But the critical point is not really pushing them down a talent pathway of golf. It's actually for them to learn the life skills that golf brings around resilience, focus, concentration, goal setting, teamship. Because we feel that those kind of values actually put the building blocks in place for people who, well, for everybody in life, but certainly those people who face a difficult livelihood, and it gives them an opportunity to potentially hit their ambitions or find pathways out of difficult times. And then here on course, it's critical that our events are sustainable. And a lot of that sustainability is quite data-driven, quite supply chain-driven, quite process-driven, so we don't talk about it all the time because on print or listening to this, it might bore a few people, but it's really ensuring our suppliers have a set of KPIs that hold us to account, hold them to account around how they drive sustainable actions when they start building the structures around me that you can see, or how they ensure that the roping and the cabling and the staking is done with minimal damage, or how we ensure that when we have a water system on site for toilets, we use a low flush mechanism so we can save 3 million litres on course for this weekend, which is what we're doing. Where we have to remove a tree for the course, we then plant 2 new trees, and then the tree that's removed we chip and use as mulch on the ground, so everything's circular. We've got all the meshing around on site here is going to be donated to a female-led micro-business unit who are going to repurpose it, rework it, and then create new products which they can then sell out of it, so it's a nice circular economic benefit. 99.5% of all of our suppliers here are from South Africa, so all of that cost that we're putting into this is going back into the local economy rather than going beyond South Africa. So all of those kind of elements are really critical for us to do, and we try and apply that standard wherever we go. Yeah, so I actually got to visit Deep Sloot earlier this week, which is amazing for me in my job to actually understand some of the challenges that the local community face. It's very easy to talk about it behind a desk in my office, but to actually physically go and really speak to some of the community leaders and some of the foundation leaders here at Stain City kind of gives me that depth of knowledge of, okay, how can we help further? In terms of what we've been doing this week, firstly, we've got the Southern Guard Academy, which will run for that whole 12 months. We've worked with Stain City Foundation, who provide a Grow Zone program, which we're helping to fund and support to double the output, so they'll get 6,000 kids over the course of the next year. They're currently at 3,000 kids fed through nutritious and food grown here on the site back into that community. During this week, we've held a golf clinic here on site where some of them came on and just played around with the Southern Guards, and first time they've ever held a golf club before. They've got to meet all 4 Southern Guards. They've got to meet Brian Habana, like incredible experience for them. We've taken a big TV screen down to the local primary school where there's 2,000 kids. We provide them with some food and drink as a great afternoon's experience for Thursday and Friday, where they've had 1,000 kids each day just sit in the playground and have like a picnic on our behalf, and just get to enjoy watching some golf, which they've probably never done before, just as an enjoyable couple of hours experience. We actually, outside of Deepsloot, there's a Soweto golf club women's only event, which the Deputy Minister put on, which we supported to help ladies in golf get have an opportunity to actually compete at a different golf course. So we're really trying to activate around these communities to give them some joy. Not many people won't be able to make it on course, but if we can take the course to them. We've also got the World of Golf, which is about 20 minutes down the road, huge site which is still available now for the next 2 days, where they're providing free golf lessons, free driving range bays, 9-hole pitch and putt. They'll have broadcast on, there's food and drink for free, which we're supporting to get as many people to come in and just enjoy the golf for free and try it for the first time.
Okay, I'm standing here with Ben Karpinski on the party hall. It's Saturday afternoon. We're at the Lions Den. Ben, just talk me through your first 2.5 days here at LIV Golf South Africa.
Just so happy here, Terrence. I mean, I don't want to be that guy who brags a bit, but I went to the last 2 Ryder Cups. So I've been to Rome, I went to Bethpage, and it gave me a good understanding what a huge golf event is. And what we've got here in South Africa right now, as Team Burmester almost makes birdie, what we've got here is up there. It's not as big as the Ryder Cup, obviously, but like pound for pound, this is just, it's unreal. And South African golf fans are like the best. There hasn't been a single sort of like negativity. No one's being a doers. Oaks are just jawling. It's just, I'm getting goosebumps like every single day. I'm waking up with hangovers, but I'm a mess. I'm running on fumes. But I'm so happy to be here. Like, from taking photos to doing interviews with the players. There's anticipation wherever you go on the golf course. I mean, it obviously helps to have Bryson here, John Rahm here, Team Burmester, but the Southern Guard guys are stepping up. But all the fans are like, it feels like it's something bigger than they've had before, and it really, really is. Because it's almost like Box Saturdays have like a certain like pop because it's 80 minutes, whatever. It's like a whole weekend. I'm gonna be so frazzled by Monday, but I'm just absolutely loving this. I can't thank LIV Golf enough, because now we've got a major golfing event in the world. I know it's like traditionally not a major. Guys can argue with me on that, but it's so huge. Terrence, I've actually run out of superlatives. If you follow me on social media, it looks like I'm just glazing this thing for money. I promise you, they're not even paying me. I'm just so happy to be here.